Welcome. I am Ryan.
And I am Ryan's brother Dan.
And we are The Way of the Leaf. And we have for you today a spoiler-free review of episode 1 of Amazon's The Wheel of Time. As always, likes and subscribes are YouTube currency. If you want to flip us a quarter for our sidewalk tunes and dancing, push that like and subscribe button. We guarantee you will enjoy our unique takes on things.
I will be giving a scene-by-scene breakdown of the episode, and Ryan will be chiming in with his thoughts and observations. And now, episode 1, leave taking. We start with Moraine getting prepared for travel. She is going full Rambo mode, throwing on her suspenders, throwing on her jacket. The world is broken, the voice says overhead, and she goes on to describe the breaking of the world. Among the things she packs is a little statue. She and Lan leave resolutely.
I was nonplussed by this opening sequence. Brother Dan, just having Moraine getting dressed, looking at a map, and giving us an info dump, I was worried.
It was a little stilted. Number 2, two bearded hippies. Men are really fast runners as they escape 5 women dressed in red riding on horses. They are headed towards the only pass in the mountain wall when, boom, looks like a major roadworks project, guys. One hippie yells to the other that you can fight them, use it. But then we learn that there is only one hippie there. Dun.
Oh, very M. Night Shyamalan moment right there.
Oh man, where's the other guy? One woman says the power is, quote, for women and women alone. You make it filthy. The women and her sisters do something that make the man scream.
But this opening sequence is rough. I thought it was generically shot. It had this kind of cheap veneer to it that I don't know how to describe. I do like Leandra, and she is appropriately pissed off, and she has this amazingly angular face, but having her stand over like this false dragon and have some sort of like 80s style like action movie confrontation where she talks to him it seems really unnecessary.
Yeah, but she has a nice rosebud mouth. Scene 3. Moraine and Lan are apparently watching the whole thing from way up top. That wasn't him, Moraine says, despite the fact that he's supposed to be 20 even though he looks 37. Lan asks, where to? And Moraine says the 2 rivers, quote, rumors of 4 TAVERN. End quote.
Oh, instantly got my guile going.
Scene 5. Many picturesque shots of the women's circle walking the river. Edwin is getting her hair braided and accepted into the circle. Nynaeve intones that, quote, all women are alone and none are alone. And then push Geronimo! Splash into the river. Trust the river, Edwin. She fights it until she floats to safety. Apparently they push her in and then they go get beers and wait at the end.
Yeah, the Edwin ceremony was an interesting twist as, again, this diverges from the book, but I thought in an interesting way. What I wanted to point out is as she gets out of the water and she lies down in the sand and starts looking appreciatively at her braid, the shot pans up and she is lying in the Aes Sedai symbol. She is the teardrop Aes Sedai. So
she also does pass through the flame of Tarvalon in the river itself. There's an image of that. Scene 6. Tam and Rand al'Thor are walking into the village. There are wolves howling and rocks tumble into their path. Rand is ready for the kill, whips out his bow and says the wolves are being pushed down the mountain from something, and then talks about how Rand used to collect strawberries and bring some to Edwin. They get to town and the village is a-jumpin'. Perrin, Mat, and Rand hang while Mat loses a dice. Perrin talks of War Geldon. Mat poo-poos it. Mat leaves and talks with the woman who won his coin, who is wearing a specific bracelet. Edwin enters to wild applause. Her dad, Bran, says, hey, time for you to work. And Days Conger says, nope, baby, we're buying her shots. She's one of us.
Now, this is when everything shifted for me, and as a lover of the books, I was so happy once we entered the 2 rivers. I was able to immerse myself in this little village. There's so much life and energy. Shots that they did technically were really well conceived. Everything was very consistent. There's editing is throughout the series is these 3 episodes is impeccable. You see it throughout, and it's really well done. Gives this kind of a flow and continuity I really appreciated.
This was the one scene that I kind of really choked hard on. When Edwin walked in and everyone started cheering for her, I got a bit emotional about that.
Mm-hmm. It's quickly established that Rand, Mat, and Perrin are like perfectly cast, right? Rand is boyish and jovial, and he has this kind of milquetoast anodyne quality to him that Yosha pulls off really well. Perrin seems nondescript at first. I couldn't get a beat on him, but late, just not too long into the episode, we get to see our brooding emo boy that I love so much. And Matt, played by Barney Frank, has these shifty eyes and a con man swagger that I loved. So it's clear that we're dealing with like strong young actors who are at the start of their careers and just going to get better and better, which I can't wait to see.
Right. And they are partying hard. It's fun to see them. That inn is thriving. I love it. Until scene 7, where Lan and Moraine enter very dramatically in from the rain. Nynaeve, she grips her dagger angrily. Lan and Moraine get a room upstairs. Marin Alvear seems kind of frightened by Moraine Sedai. Rand cautions Perrin against talking as they don't know what she can hear. Nynaeve clearly hates them and says they'll be better off when they're gone. Nynaeve then asks Perrin about Layla, says it's probably hard to work the forge by herself. Perrin guiltily excuses himself and leaves.
Many people seem to have issues with the introduction scene of Lan and Moraine. I don't. I thought it was really well done. If you take it from the perspective of these country bumpkins, the awkwardness of Moraine not saying much, the silence in the room, I thought it was well conceived and well done. But I do want to point out that the foreshadowing that we see where Rand says to Perrin, do not talk, who knows what she could hear? Because I believe later on when she's up in the window, looking out through this dirty window at the boys talking on a bench, that she is channeling and is listening to their conversation. So subtle foreshadowing that I appreciate.
This is an uncomfortable scene on purpose. And Moraine does act a little odd. I would have liked if Flames had jumped up when she went near the fireplace, but the fireplace stayed the same. We now go to scene 8. Perrin meets Layla at the forge. She appears to be pregnant as Perrin goes behind her and cradles her tummy. He says that she did not attend Edwin's ceremony. Layla is super pumped with like 12 earrings in one ear. Perrin says, I love you. And Layla responds, I know. She keeps her back to him.
This scene is super interesting. Right. So Nynaeve chides Perrin and Perrin looks kind of longingly at Edwin and then turns around and says, give her my best. The next image is his wife. And I think that was done on purpose, right? And I think that there's something to consider there. And I'm going to give credit to this notion from Morgan from Podcast of the Dragon. She contends that the reason why that Layla didn't attend the Women's Circle ceremony is that she is either doesn't like Edwin or is jealous of Edwin for some reason.
Well, you notice
that Layla has her hair braided, so she should have been at that ceremony. And then we have the indication that she's pregnant. I like how there's so much that is unsaid and implied. This scene felt very reminiscent of how RJ writes, right, Dan? Like it's you read between the lines, and I thought that is really cool as a fan. But I do have concerns of non-readers of the book whether any of this is like making sense to them.
Scene 9. Matt comes across his mother who is drunk and she is yelling about her husband's philandering ways. He's sitting there talking to a woman, quote, right where everyone can see, unquote. Matt carries her away to home. There are 2 little girls playing with action figures at the time. One of the girls asks, is mom sick again? As Matt puts her to bed, she looks at her son and she says, you will be like your father, a damn prick like him. He shakes it off. He looks at his sisters who have dirty faces. He says, come sleep with me tonight instead of mom and dad. And the sisters agree.
This backstory of Matt's is incredible. And it's one of the changes in the books that everyone, I believe, universally is appreciating. As a psych major myself, if you asked me to write a backstory for Matt that explains why he is the way he is, explaining his childhood, I would conceive of these 2 people It's so perfect.
Scene 10 is bath time. Lan saunters and sways into the tub. We get a full view of his bum. Moraine gets a full view of the front. She makes the tub hotter with magic tinkle sounds and a swirl of her fingers. And Lan appreciates the effort. He asks if you think it's one of them, and she does not answer.
Now, that little tinkling sound when Moraine channels into the water is a bit silly to me. Is it an audible sound? Like, can Lan hear that when it's happening? It sounds like Mario collecting a gold coin. So it's unclear whether or not this is a sound effect intended for the audience alone, or if people around the channeler is hearing Mario collect the gold coin. Bleep, bleep. So he transitioned to sexy time. I want to say I do like the juxtaposition of Moraine and Lan being naked platonically, and then we see post-coital Rand and Edwin, and they're like covering their body, right? They just made love, and they're just already dressed and covering themselves. I just thought that was very interesting.
Scene 11, to your point, Ryan. Rand and Edwin have relations. Rand falls asleep because, of course, he did. Edwin shares that Nynaeve wants her to serve as Wisdom's apprentice. Wisdoms don't marry or have children. Bums Rand out. He gets emo and he walks away shirtless. Scene 12. Padfane arrives. Merry Beltane! Merry Beltane! He only has 2 horses and a wagon filled with mostly scarves and string and pins. Tam eats some of Edwin's mother's bread. Could that be honey cakes, Ryan? Matt speaks with Fane and pawns a bracelet that he apparently stole to get some lanterns. This looks shockingly like the bracelet of the woman who won all his coin earlier in the tavern.
When we see the fade for the first time, which is the scene directly preceding Pat and Fane entering the Two Rivers, the soundtrack has a whistling sound, an ominous whistle that once we see Pat and Fane riding into the Two Rivers, he is whistling that tune. Okay? Very subtle connection between those two.
Okay. Interesting. Right?
We also have a nice little detail in this scene with Pat and Fane and Matt. If you look in the background, you see the villagers erecting that large candelabra type structure where all those candles are hanging, like a 3-story or 2-story thing. Very subtle, but really cool. Really immersive detail right there.
Scene 13. As Rand's sitting alone, Edwin finds him. Rand starts talking existentially about his plans for the future, including the house he's going to build, his children, and his wife. Edwin tries to talk, but the sheep herder Rand-splains her and says, I know. I already known.
Ooh, Rand-splaining.
Rand-splaining, yeah, that's hashtag.
Okay.
Edwin cries while Rand white knights her and offers her a shoulder and consolation.
Up to this point in the show, I felt the pacing was great. I liked the time and attention they're taking, and I thought, so far, this is just wonderful. Didn't really like the opener, didn't really like chasing down the hippies, but man, once we entered Two Rivers, I was fully engrossed.
Scene 14. Nynaeve is cleaning the sacred baths. Moraine enters and they have an involuntary chat. Nynaeve does not want to speak, but Moraine does. We learn that Nynaeve is not from the Two Rivers and is probably either 25 or 26 years old. We also learned that the prior wisdom was turned away from the White Tower after walking there for months. And this may define why Nynaeve's attitude towards the strangers in town is so hostile.
Now, it is unclear whether or not this also indicates whether Nynaeve believes she can channel. Has she herself considered going to the White Tower? This whole scene is really well acted and well conceived and has that kind of subtle nuances that RJ is known for. You get to see Moraine basically manipulating the truth out of Nynaeve. She needed to know whether or not Nynaeve was 20 years old. And she used all of this, I believe, just to get that number where she said, oh, I'm 26. and that disqualifies her. I also loved the power dynamics that was being shown. Nynaeve at one point wants to get out of the pool, and Moraine just blocks her and stands over her. She's looming over her.
And Nynaeve herself says, and I will protect it from you if I have to. And then she dismisses her, says, enjoy your walk, and then goes back to scrubbing the bath. Scene 15, a quick one. The boys, they meet, and the beers do flow. Early morning drinking, boys. Let's do it. Beltane. They ask about Edwin. And there's really no answer. And then it cuts to scene 16 where Nynaeve and Edwin are on a bridge listening to the wind. Apparently it sounds wrong. We actually hear screeching, and it's like nothing that Nynaeve has ever heard prior. Scene 17 has Lan, while he's off tracking, it comes across a goat massacre. Ryan, do you remember seeing Goat Massacre at Coachella?
Oh, maybe the Coachella side stage.
Yeah. The massacre stage. And it is shaped like what we now know as a dragon fang.
You know, Dan, this begs the question as to why it's there, like who put it there and for what purpose, right? Do the bad guys eat animals and leave them as dragon fangs wherever they eat? Or do they do this to mark territory like dogs pissing? Or are they simply trying to spread fear and warn others of their presence? Like what? Or, and if that's the case, like, what does that do for them? I mean, it looks cool. It looks amazing. And it's canonically like a great symbol, but it just felt really awkward and like unnecessary.
Right. Is it some sort of dark religious ceremony that occurred? Good question, Ryan. I don't know why they would leave that like there. Scene 18, to your point, Ryan, Moraine is watching or listening to the boys talk together at a picnic table. The lads give Matt some coin to get some, quote, lanterns for the girls. He demurs and thanks them. And Rand goes home. Moraine is looking through a dirty stained glass window curiously. Scene 19. 19. We are at the Althor farm. The men light a lantern to guide the departed souls home. There is no mention to who is referenced necessarily, but we assume that since there is no mother in the house, that it is for her. Tam has a book of matches. The village themselves are doing a similar ceremony where they're releasing lanterns onto the river. This is a solemn ceremony. Matt helps his sisters put a couple lanterns into the river, and they look sad. It makes me wonder if Matt perhaps lost his sibling at some time. But Beltane is a celebration for the lost souls to get back home, and you need to provide some incentive for them to get back here. So it's party time, Ryan. Scene 20 has Lan telling Moraine the fade that we had seen in the village earlier has dozens, more like hundreds, but he says dozens of Trollocs and that they need to leave now. Scene 21, however, is Dancy Dance Party. Edwin is dancing a jig. They're all doing circle dances, choreographed stuff. And the boy, Tom, who Edwin is dancing with, takes an unfortunate axe to the back. And then all hell breaks loose.
Yep, the slaughter of the century.
We'll go right into it. Scene 22, Trolloc attack. Chaos camera focuses on Edwin as she avoids the monsters and the people running away. Nynaeve grabs her and they run near some buildings. Perrin and Layla run into the forge and lock the doors. Matt runs home to find that his horrible, awful parents don't know where the little sisters are. He runs out to find them, and all around them, Ryan, is death, death, death. There was violence where monsters were eating people on the street, and Edwin is horrified, just trying to get away, just seeing people she grew up with just being massacred in front of her.
Yeah, Matt stumbles over someone getting eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
The pacing of the battle scene, I found this part of the episode to be the best paced, the most compelling. It was hard to pull your eyes away from what was going on, and the way that it jumped points of view to where you had 3 or 4 people that you were following during this was really well done.
And I thought they exhibited the fog of war type feeling to a T. Like there was confusion, there was anarchy, but you always felt you knew where the characters were, what was happening around them, and how they're being like influencing what's around them, right? So the choreography of the entire way that they filmed it, directed it, the angles they used. Like, I was following it, and I was never really confused, but I also was able to experience that kind of anarchic drama feeling too. So it was so well done.
Well, scene 23 cuts to Edwin and Nynaeve. They are healers, and they are dragging a body away to try to help. We see what we assume is the death of Senbui, Ryan.
Yeah.
I kind of wish he had muttered, "You're too young," before he croaked, but they guide him to his last rest. Scene 24, Rand and Tam are just chilling, making some dinner, when a Trolloc rudely enters, breaks down the door. A major fight ensues. Tam tells Rand to run, but he doesn't, and instead uses his bow to launch a couple arrows into his back. The Trolloc smashes Rand against the fireplace and is about to kill him, but Tam rushes under his bed, pulls open a box, and takes out a sword. He jumps back out and says, quote, "Hey, over here." The Trolloc turns. We see a heron-marked blade and a fight. Tam gets cut and is losing, to be honest. He's about to die, but Rand sends an arrow right through the Trolloc's throat. Tam says, "Go," but Rand says no and says, "I need to heal you because Tam does not look good," and puts him on the back of a horse and takes him back to the village for Nynaeve to heal. Scene 25 is a Trolloc finds Nynaeve and Edwin and screams at them. Nynaeve screams back with a knife in her fist, and they fight. Nynaeve does a couple wet punches, pow, pow, right to the side, but they're about to get killed until wispy white streaks rip that Trolloc apart. They look and see Moraine is tossing fireballs around while Lan uses his sword with many deadly cutsy cuts. Moraine twirls the one power streams iconically.
Nynaeve attacking the Trolloc with Edwin. I think she was stabbing that. She was like prison stabbing that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Shiv, wet punch. I think she was more effective than Tam Althor, to be honest. Scene 26, the woman led by Daze Conger kill a Trolloc prison style. Ba, 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 stab. A Trolloc enters the forge, and Lan and Moraine continue to fight while the Trolloc fights with Perrin and Layla. Perrin has an axe, Layla has a hammer. Matt goes and finds his sisters and tell them to leave their already awesome hiding spot and go hide in the woods. Another Trolloc enters the forge fight. Layla is super tough and takes one down with some more wet punches, stab to the shoulder, while Lan fights as Moraine throws a double helix into the sky and conducts some lightning. Perrin kills a Trolloc, goes full psycho rampage mode, and kills it a whole bunch, keeps stabbing with his axe, and then turns and swings his axe behind him right into Layla's stomach, who had her hammer above her head. She dies in his arms. "Look at me," he implores, as his pregnant wife dies by his own carelessness.
There will be tons of speculation about what Layla was doing right before she got hacked.
Correct.
I think it's safe to say in 2021 that this trope of introducing a female character into a story just to have her die, thereby advancing a male character's narrative arc, I think is gross. It's lazy, right? If there's some sort of twist that Layla was a dark friend, that's why she had her hands up, she's gonna somehow like attack Perrin. If that's a twist, maybe it's more palatable, but yeah, I think it's called fringing. When you add a female character just for her to die emotionally so that man can have reason, make a decision or what have you.
Scene 29, Nynaeve gets abducted by her braid by a running Trolloc and pulled away from Edwin. Edwin is scared. She is screaming for Nynaeve with no success. Lan is fighting on his back now, kicks off a Trolloc, and Moraine takes a spear or a trident or a dagger or something right to the shoulder. Scene 30, Lan catches Moraine and tells her that there are too many Trollocs as he sees a whole wall of them all fuzzy and backlit. But Moraine grabs the weapon in her shoulder and pulls it out herself. "Light, give me strength," she says. She charges up her power while Land protects her. Moraine pulls large stones from the wine spring inn and hurls them at the Trollocs, ending their attack on the village. The wine spring inn collapses gloriously. Land protects Moraine from the ensuing dust cloud. Scene 31, the last scene. Rand arrives to the destroyed village. Tam is hurt, but Nynaeve is gone. Mat returns with his sisters, and his father is abashed. Perrin carries Layla and lays her body down amongst the other dead. Mat comes and offers Perrin some support. Edwin gets Moraine and Land for Tam. She declares that it's Trolloc poison, but she heals Tam good as new, right as rain. I can do cartwheels now. A foretelling story ensues of a blind woman with milky white eyes for Moraine, saying that one of you four is the one. Oh no, the Dark One's army is way up there. We gotta leave now. Okay, bye everyone. Tam just nods knowingly. They all leave as Moraine narrates in the background. The wheel of time turns and ages come and pass, etc., etc. And that is the end of episode 1.
Overall, I was very, very, very happy with my main concern, which was that we all knew there were going to be changes, but would the characters feel right? And I'm happy to report that I am fully on board with the casting and the actors, and it was emotional for me to see everybody that I've been thinking about for so long since we read the books, like alive and start talking and interacting, and to see the fidelity that the essence of the characters. Now, there are issues with pacing, and I had some issues with dialogue, and there are going to be issues, I believe, moving forward with some of the choices the showrunners make, but it is undeniable that they hit the ballpark out with the casting and the writing.
I think the Trolloc battle was fantastic, Ryan. I was so compelled with it. We were following characters, boom, now to Perrin, boom, to Edwin, boom, to Mat. I liked the whole jump cut nature of it, and I thought it kept me on the edge of my seat.
Now, but even if the battle sequences were like sloppy, that could be fixed. Right? Pacing can be fixed, writing can be fixed, directing can be fixed, lighting can be fixed. So much can be fixed as the seasons progress. I mean, we've already been greenlit for season 3. Little concerns I've had, I believe will be fixed. But if I came in here to record this episode feeling like, man, Mat just was not a good actor, that would ruin the show for me. Right out and out, the thing that I look for in film and television is the interaction between the characters. And if I believe the actor. If an actor is bad, I don't believe them, and I am instantly pulled away, and I feel like I'm watching like a middle school play. So I am happily announcing that I'm fully on board with what they're doing with the casting, and my main concern has been sated. I'm happy to move forward with this series. I'm happy to keep reporting our feelings to everyone, and I do believe that the small concerns that we have will just be fixed eventually, and we're going to be seeing episodes with ratings of upwards of 9 and 10 out of 10. Right now, it's a consistent, I think, 7 for reviews. So, and I think that's warranted.
Hopefully, you guys will be a part of seeing all of our recaps as we do them scene by scene, and give a little breakdown and some discussion along the way.
Give this video a like and subscribe, and please support us through Patreon by joining our Discord, following us on Twitter. There's so many ways of interacting with us. We are the Way of the Leaf, and we are here for you as we all enjoy this experience of watching our story come to life through Amazon's Wheel of Time. Run for your lives. This is the Way of the Leaf. Again, being able to meet Man, Rat, and Perrin, we see like they establish very quickly.
Hold on. Ryan, you said manned rat and Perrin.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
All right. Woo! You're welcome.
Manned rat and Perrin. That's great.
Did you hear it?
No.
Okay, you totally did.
I would have stopped myself.
Look at 26:46, Ryan. You look at it and look. And
okay. I think he only took his shirt off. And never.
He just went through the small clothes?
Yeah. He had like a little flap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Little flap.
A pee flap. Yeah, no, or they did it and like he instantly put his pants on and then fell asleep. Because it's Rand. He's super shy.
Well, hold on. They did have sex in the kitchen while washing dishes, right?
But yeah, and that's not the Two Rivers work ethic though.
Yeah. But they're stubborn and horny.
And apparently a little drunk, so. Marinalveer does her little, everyone, let's get down.
She's the one at the funeral who's like, come on, let's laugh.
I know, he would have wanted us to be drunk right now and having a great time. That's what he wanted us for us.